Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of Math with Dr. War. Today we're going to be writing the equation of a circle. The standard equation of a circle with a center HK and a radius R is given by the equation below. We have x minus h all squared plus y minus k all squared equals to r squared. Now on many intermediate algebra exams, this is going to be one question. They'll give you an equation, and then they'll ask you to write the standard equation for the circle. They'll ask you to state the center and the radius, and they'll ask you to graph it. So here I have my equation. Your first step is we're going to group all the x's together and all the y's together. So this will be x squared plus 4x plus y squared minus 6y minus 3 equals to 0. Your next step is we're going to remove the constant. So this negative 3, we're going to take it over to the right. So I'm going to put the x squared plus 4x in parentheses. I'll do the same for the y values. And remember, I'm taking a negative 3 over the equal sign. So remember the sign changes. So a negative 3 becomes positive 3. Our next step is we have to complete the square. I did a video on completing the square. I'll link it at the end. So remember to complete the square. You have x squared plus 4x plus, now remember we're going to take half of our b. So our b is 4, half of 4 is 2, and then we have to square that. So we're going to add that here, plus y squared minus 6y. Again, for the y, my b is negative 6. When I half it, I get negative 3, and I'm going to square it. So I'm going to add negative 3 all squared. Now, whatever you add to the left, you must add to the right. So notice I added a 2 squared, so I'm going to add that to the right-hand side. And I also added a negative 3 squared. Now, our next step is to factor. I always leave my equation like this because when it comes to factoring, I'm just going to write x plus 2 all squared plus. And this will be y minus 3 all squared. Makes it easier if you have a little bit of difficulties factoring. Equals, this will be 3 plus 4 plus 9. That's a 4. And when I add all of that, I'm going to get 16. My standard equation is x plus 2 all squared plus y minus 3 all squared equals to 16. So I have my standard equation. Now we need our center. So my center, I always tell my students, for the center, you always take the opposite. Here I have a positive 2, that would be negative 2. And this is a negative 3, so that will be a positive 3. So let's put a little, always take the opposite because it's like you're solving opposite. And do the same thing for this one, the opposite. We know that r squared has a value of 16. We want r, not r squared. So you have to take the square root of both sides. This will give me r, and the square root of 16 is 4. Now you know you're wondering why I didn't write plus or minus 4. Remember, r is radius. Radius is a distance. You cannot have a negative distance. So your answer is just a positive 4. Okay, so we did part 2. Now this is the final portion many students get incorrect on the test. When they have to actually graph the circle. They're going to ask you to graph the circle in which you're going to have to state the center. So you have to plot the center and then you have to plot 4 points. So let's plot our center. So here's our origin. Our center is at negative 2, 3. So okay, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. And you can plot points. If you're in intermediate algebra, you can plot points. So this is negative 2, 3. And now we have to plot 4 points on our circle. The easiest way I tell my students is counting. So it's like you're going north, south, east, and west. And that's how we're going to get our 4 points. So let's go up first. So I'm going to count 4 units up. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is one of my points. And I'm just going to write the coordinates for that. X is still negative 2, and then the y, so if this is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, let's go this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. So right here. So again, just write your coordinates. The y value is still 3. Now your x value, so this would be negative 1, 0, 1, 2. So that's positive 2. Let's go this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right here. So let's write our coordinates for that point. So again, your y value is still 3, but your x values change. So this is negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. And last point, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right here. And let's just write our coordinates for that point. My x value is still negative 2, but my y value here is negative 1. Some students actually do the math. They actually understand if I go up this way, my x value stays the same, but my y value is changing. So to the 3, they'll add 4 and get 7. Over here, your x value is still the same, but your y value is changing. Now because you're going down, it's like you're subtracting, so 3 minus 4 is negative 1. Your y value still stays 3, but your x is changing. So negative 2 plus 4 is positive 2 because we're going to the right. And then over here, I'm going to the left. So negative 2 plus negative 4 is negative 6. But if you don't want to do the math, counting is fine. And then your last step is just connect the dots. Your professor doesn't care if it doesn't look like a perfect circle. As long as they can see your 4 coordinates with your center, you're going to get your total 10 points. Let's try this again. So your first step, we're going to group the x's together. Let's group the y's together. And let's take that pesky 13 to the right. So it's a positive 13, it becomes negative 13. Let's begin completing our square. So you have x squared minus 2x plus your b is negative 2. If you take half of that, you get negative 1, and you have to square it. So we're going to add negative 1 all squared, y squared minus 8y plus, now your b here is negative 8. You take half of that, you get negative 4, and then we got to square it. So we're adding negative 4 all squared equals negative 13 plus, remember the negative 1, we have to add that, plus the negative 4 all squared. Now when we factor this, it's an easy factor. You take an x, you take a negative 1, and you square. Plus, you have your y, your negative 4, and your all squared. And then over here, you have negative 13 plus 1 plus 16, and that gives you a value of 4. So your standard equation is x minus 1 all squared plus y minus 4 all squared equals to 4. Let's get our center. So our center would be, again, take the opposite. Negative 1, positive 1, negative 4, positive 4. Your radius, I know that r squared is 4. So when I take the square root of both sides, r has a value of 2. You're going to graph. So let's plot 1, 4. So here's our origin. You go 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 right here. Also write your coordinates. And let's get our 4 points. So your radius is 2. That's nice. So you just go 1, 2. So 1 is here. So notice your x is still 1, but your y change. So 4 plus 2 is 6. Okay, if we go down, 1, 1, 2. Right here. Again, your x is still 1, but you went down. 4 minus 2 is 2. Let's go this way. 1, 2. Over here. So notice your y stays, but your x change. So if you add 2 to 1, that would be a 3. Then let's go this way. 1, 2. Right here. So if you want to, remember your y still is 4, but you're changing. So this would be negative 1. And then we're just going to connect our points, and there's your circle. I have x squared plus y squared minus 8x plus 7 equals to 0. I remember I gave a problem like this in class, and it just stumped one young lady. So again, you have your x squared minus your 8x. Let's group those. Plus y squared, which is all by itself. This positive 7, that's going to go to the right and become negative 7. Now, I like these type of problems because I only have to complete the square for x. So this will be x squared minus 8x plus, now half of negative 8 is negative 4, which I'm going to square, plus y squared. Can't complete the square just for one variable. And then this will be minus 7, and the only thing I added to the left was the negative 4 squared. Now, when I factor, I have x minus 4 all squared plus y squared equals to negative 7 plus 16. I add that, I'm going to get 9. So my standard equation is x minus 4 all squared plus y squared equals to 9. My center, now this is what stumped her. Her center was going to be, since this is negative 4, positive 4. And now this doesn't have anything added to it, so guess what's added to it? A nice 0. R squared equals to 9. And when you take the square root of both sides, r has a value of 3. Standard equation, here's our center, and here's our radius. I'm not going to actually graph that because I think you can graph by now. Last one. Now, if you happen to see a problem like this, 2x squared plus 2y squared minus 16x plus 4y plus 20 equals to 0, remember that when you have to complete the square, coefficient that is in front of the x squared must be a 1. So I'm going to go in here and divide everything by 2 because we need to get that to be a 1 squared. That becomes x squared plus y squared minus 8x plus 2y plus 10 equals to 0. That's the only thing you have to do. We're going to group the x together like that. Let's group the y's together like that. And the 10, let's take it over to the right. So it's plus, it becomes minus 10. Let's complete the square. X squared minus 8x plus half of negative 8 is negative 4 all squared. Y squared plus 2y plus half of 2 is 1 all squared. And whatever we added to the left, we must add to the right. So I have to add my negative 4 all squared and my 1 squared. When I factor this, this will be x minus 4 all squared plus, again, remember, take a y, take one of these, so this will be a plus 1, and then square everything. And let's do our math. Negative 10 plus 16 plus 1. So this will be 6 plus 1 is 7. So our standard equation is x minus 4 all squared plus y plus 1 all squared equals to 7. Our center, again, remember, negative 4, positive 4, positive 1, negative 1. There's my center. R squared equals to 7. So I have to take the square root of both sides. So r equals the square root of 7. I can't break this down any further or simplify it, so your answer is radical 7. Your radius can be a square root. But when you graph, I find that they give you a radius that is an integer. It's much easier to graph rather than having to graph the square root of 7. I hope this has been helpful. Give this video a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Have a great day.